Ayesha Malik, Sheikh Rashid Al-Mansoor, Sheikh Khalid Al-Hassan, and Sheikh Ibrahim Al-Samar, for lives intertwined in secrets, luxury, and betrayal, collided one fateful night in Dubai, unleashing a deadly chain of events that no one could have predicted. Ayesha Malik arrived in Dubai with the excitement of someone who believed a new life was finally beginning. She was only 22, carrying a student visa, 2 suitcases, and a heart full of hope. Her family in India had saved for years so she could study abroad, and she promised them she would make every sacrifice worth it. At her university, she quickly became known as the polite, quiet girl who always kept to herself. She attended classes on time, submitted her assignments early, and avoided unnecessary attention. Her classmates admired her discipline, believing she came from a privileged background because she never complained about anything. But Ayesha's life was far from perfect. The truth was that Dubai was far more expensive than she had expected. Rent, transport, and food drained her savings within months. She worked part-time at a cafe, but her income covered barely anything. When she scrolled through social media, she saw other students traveling, shopping, and living in luxury. She wondered how they managed it while she struggled to pay her bills. Every night, she calculated her expenses, desperately looking for a way to survive until the next semester. What her friends didn't know was that Ayesha had already started slipping into a different world. Her Instagram posts highlighted beaches, malls, and late-night study sessions, but they hid the stress she felt every morning. She borrowed makeup she couldn't afford and took pictures in places she couldn't buy from. The small details of her perfect life were carefully arranged to hide how close she was to giving up. Yet she refused to return home. She wanted success, comfort, and a future where her family would no longer struggle. That desperation quietly opened the door to choices she never imagined she would make, setting the foundation for a much darker story waiting to unfold. Ayesha's financial problems grew heavier with each passing month, and the pressure slowly pushed her toward places she once promised herself she would never go. One night, while scrolling through student forums and job groups, she found discussions about private companionship websites. At first, she ignored them, telling herself she was not that kind of person. But as her rent deadline approached and her bank balance dropped to frightening levels, the idea stopped sounding shocking and began sounding like a solution. She convinced herself it was only temporary, something she would do just until she stabilized her finances. After days of hesitation, she created a profile on an exclusive sugar daddy platform known only among wealthy businessmen and high-profile clients. She used a fake name, uploaded carefully edited pictures, and set her expectations. Within hours, her inbox filled with offers. Among them were messages from 3 influential Dubai sheikhs who preferred privacy and secrecy. Their wealth was unimaginable to her, and their attention came with promises of comfort she had never experienced. Ayesha felt both intimidated and intrigued, but the need for financial stability pushed her forward. The first arrangement started innocently. Expensive dinners, shopping allowances, and monthly support helped her pay her tuition and debts. Then the second offer came, doubling her income. She knew she was stepping into a dangerous pattern, yet she couldn't stop. Her grades improved, her appearance changed, and her lifestyle became unrecognizable. Her friends thought she received a scholarship or family support. Only Ayesha knew the truth, that she was balancing 3 powerful men, each believing he was her only secret. She told herself she had control, that she would quit once she saved enough. But luxury grew addictive. The gifts, the money, and the attention made her feel invincible. She didn't realize that each new benefit came with invisible strings, and each string pulled her deeper into a world she could no longer escape. Sheikh Rashid Al-Mansoor was the youngest of Ayesha's 3 secret benefactors, known for his modern lifestyle and constant media presence. He enjoyed being generous, believing it made him appear powerful and admired. At first, his arrangement with Ayesha seemed simple. He provided support, and she maintained her charm and elegance during their planned outings. But Rashid was more observant than she expected. He noticed small changes that others might ignore, new designer items he had not gifted, trips she claimed were for studies, and sudden days when she became unavailable without explanation. Rashid's curiosity slowly turned into suspicion. He prided himself on being the center of attention, and the idea that someone else might be sharing Ayesha's time bothered him more than he wanted to admit. He began examining her social media more closely. Her captions remained innocent, but her locations, outfits, and timing didn't match the allowance he gave her. He noticed she carried luxury accessories that exceeded the value of what he provided. The inconsistencies built a quiet storm in his mind. Instead of confronting her, Rashid chose a more discreet path. He hired a private investigator, a man known for tracking social connections without alerting the target. The investigator followed Ayesha during her classes, her cafe visits, and her late-night outings. Rashid wanted clarity, convinced she was hiding something significant. While reviewing the early surveillance reports, Rashid discovered she was visiting upscale areas far beyond her student life and meeting people he couldn't identify. The more he learned, the more unsettled he became. His interest transformed into a determined need to uncover the truth. He convinced himself it was not jealousy but concern. Deep down, however, he feared losing control over a life he believed he had helped shape. Ayesha continued her routine unaware that someone was watching her every move, and Rashid's growing obsession was about to push the story into dangerous territory. Sheikh Khalid Al-Hassan was very different from Rashid. He was older, more traditional, and deeply protective of his reputation. His arrangement with Ayesha was based on strict expectations. He valued loyalty above everything and believed that once someone entered his circle, they should remain under his influence. At first, he thought Ayesha was reliable. She always appeared respectful, accepted his gifts without question, and maintained a calm, graceful presence. Yet with time, he sensed a shift he couldn't ignore. Ayesha became less available, often claiming she had university projects or late-night study sessions. Khalid noticed that she no longer responded to his messages as quickly as before. Her excuses sounded rehearsed, and her schedule began to feel unusually complicated. His instincts told him something was wrong. He had built his life on control and clarity, and the smallest inconsistency made him uneasy. When Ayesha suddenly cancelled 2 consecutive meetings, he felt a sting of betrayal. Khalid instructed his security team to discreetly monitor her activities. These men were trained to handle sensitive matters without attracting attention. Their reports revealed troubling details. Ayesha was seen entering luxury hotels at irregular hours. She visited high-end malls where she picked up items he hadn't purchased for her. She traveled in vehicles that did not belong to him. Nothing made sense. Khalid interpreted every new detail as a personal insult. He believed someone was taking advantage of what he considered his private space. The idea that Ayesha might be seeing another man fueled a quiet fury inside him. He didn't know who the other person was, but he wanted to confront the situation before it damaged his pride. As days passed, his suspicion grew into a dangerous determination. He became more controlling, analyzing every movement she made and preparing himself for a confrontation. Ayesha continued her double life without realizing that Khalid was watching her more closely than ever, and his rising anger was slowly shaping a tragedy neither of them could stop. Sheikh Ibrahim Al-Samar was the wealthiest and most influential among the three, known for his calm demeanor and strategic mind. Unlike Rashid's impulsive curiosity or Khalid's rigid dominance, Ibrahim preferred stability and long-term arrangements. When he first met Ayesha, he saw her as someone who could fit into his discreet lifestyle without complications. He appreciated her intelligence, her careful behavior, and her willingness to follow boundaries. For a while, everything ran smoothly. Ayesha seemed reliable, and Ibrahim believed he had found someone he could trust. As months passed, however, Ibrahim sensed a distance growing between them. Ayesha appeared distracted during their outings, often checking her phone and avoiding eye contact. She hesitated when he asked about her studies or travel plans. Her lifestyle grew noticeably upscale, even by his standards, and she carried luxury items he had not provided. Ibrahim rarely acted out of emotion, but he disliked uncertainty. When someone's story didn't align with their actions, he quietly began gathering information. Ibrahim asked one of his trusted assistants to review Ayesha's background more thoroughly. He requested access to financial patterns, travel histories, and any hidden connections she might have. The results were surprising. Her bank account showed regular deposits from anonymous sources. She attended events and visited locations that didn't match her student life. There were inconsistencies in her university records, suggesting she had been skipping classes. The deeper he looked, the more contradictions appeared. Despite the evidence, Ibrahim didn't react instantly. He believed in understanding a situation completely before confronting it. When he eventually offered her a long-term financial arrangement, it wasn't just generosity, it was a test. He wanted to see whether she preferred stability with him or the freedom to continue her hidden activities. Her refusal confirmed what he suspected: Ayesha was balancing multiple lives. For him, it wasn't about jealousy but loyalty. And loyalty, once broken, became a risk. Quietly, he decided to uncover everything she was hiding, unaware that Rashid and Khalid were already following their own trails. All three paths were moving toward one explosive point, and Ayesha was standing unknowingly at the center of a storm she could no longer control. The three sheikhs followed Ayesha's life separately, each convinced he alone had reasons to be suspicious. But without knowing it, their investigations slowly began crossing paths. Every secret visit, every late-night outing, and every unexplained luxury item linked her to a different world, one she fought to keep hidden. Ayesha believed she was managing everything well. She switched meeting times, changed locations, and altered her routine so no one would notice her patterns. But her attempts to stay unpredictable only made her movements more noticeable to the men watching her. Rashid's private investigator captured pictures of her leaving a luxury hotel late at night, wearing an outfit Rashid had never seen before. The investigator also noted that a dark-tinted SUV waited for her outside, but its license plate didn't match anything connected to Rashid. On the same night, Khalid's security team observed her in a high-end district known for exclusive gatherings. They tracked her movements and noticed she met someone who appeared to be connected to a government family, someone Khalid assumed was a rival. Meanwhile, Ibrahim's assistant dug deeper into her transactions. Several transfers into her bank account came from offshore locations connected to families in Dubai's elite circles. Ibrahim recognized two of the names. This discovery confirmed that Ayesha was involved with more than one person of influence. Each man had a piece of the puzzle, but none realized the other two were examining the same picture. As the trails overlapped, the tension increased. Rashid grew restless, convinced she was betraying him. Khalid became consumed with pride and anger, feeling disrespected. Ibrahim's calm exterior began to weaken as he faced the possibility of being manipulated. All three believed they were the only ones uncovering her deception, unaware that their investigations were moving toward the same truth. Ayesha continued living her double life, thinking she was outsmarting everyone. She did not realize that every step she took was tightening the circle around her. Soon, the separate paths of three powerful men would converge, and when they did, the consequences would spiral far beyond anything she could have imagined. On a humid Thursday night, Ayesha prepared for a yacht party hosted at the edge of Dubai Marina. It was one of those events filled with international students, wealthy expatriates, and hidden arrangements that never made it to social media. She attended such gatherings occasionally to maintain the image expected by her benefactors. What she didn't know was that this particular night had already been set in motion by forces far beyond her control. Rashid arrived first, though Ayesha never saw him. He stayed inside his tinted car, parked far enough to remain unnoticed. He had received a report earlier that day suggesting she might attend the event. Driven by curiosity and anxiety, he wanted first-hand proof of her secret activities. He watched every person who stepped onto the yacht, waiting for her appearance. Not long after, Khalid's security team tracked her phone location and informed him she was near the marina. Khalid, consumed by suspicion, decided to follow her himself. As he approached the area, he kept a low profile, watching from a nearby restaurant balcony. He recognized her silhouette almost instantly, moving confidently in a dress he knew he hadn't purchased. His silent fury grew heavier with every passing minute. Ibrahim, too, had an informant present at the yacht party. The assistant had been instructed not to interact with Ayesha, only to observe and report. Through discreet messages, Ibrahim received updates about her behavior, her companions, and her movements around the deck. He analyzed each detail from his private office, maintaining his calm demeanor even as the evidence confirmed his worst assumptions. None of the three men knew the others were present or involved. Their separate surveillance created an invisible triangle surrounding Ayesha. She danced, smiled, and interacted with people, unaware of the shadows watching her from different corners. As the night progressed, each man's emotions, jealousy, anger, and disappointment, intensified. Their quiet pursuit had reached a boiling point. The stage was set, and Ayesha was unknowingly walking toward a moment that would change everything. Ayesha left the yacht earlier than planned, hoping to avoid questions from classmates who noticed her frequent disappearances. She ordered a car to take her to a private villa on the outskirts of the city, a place Ibrahim had arranged for occasional meetings. The quiet location made her feel safe, far from the crowded nightlife. She believed it was the one place where she could relax without fear of being seen. But this time, her journey was being traced by more than one person. Rashid, who had already been watching her at the marina, followed her vehicle at a discreet distance. He kept his headlights low and maintained enough space to avoid drawing attention. His heart pounded with a mix of anger and disbelief, convinced that the truth he had been searching for was moments away. He wanted answers, but more than that, he wanted to confirm whether she had been deceiving him all along. Khalid was only a few minutes behind. His security team updated him with live coordinates, guiding him straight toward the villa. Each update fueled his growing sense of betrayal. In his mind, this was no longer a simple matter of disloyalty. It had become an attack on his pride, something he could not ignore or forgive. He drove with a focused calmness, preparing himself for the confrontation he believed to be necessary. At the same time, Ibrahim arrived separately after receiving unexpected information from his assistant. The details suggested that Ayesha had been meeting someone other than him at the villa. He didn't want to believe it, but the consistency of the evidence left him no choice. He chose silence over confrontation, intending to observe before making any decision. When Ayesha stepped inside the villa, she felt relieved, unaware that three powerful men were approaching with conflicting emotions. Moments later, the tension finally collided. The Sheikhs reached the entrance almost simultaneously, instantly realizing the truth they had never expected, that they had all been woven into the same secret. Shock turned into anger, anger into chaos, and the confrontation that followed spiraled out of control in seconds. Ayesha had no idea that the separate storms she had been navigating were about to merge into one violent disaster. The moment the confrontation erupted inside the villa, the atmosphere shifted instantly from confusion to panic. Ayesha stood frozen as the three men, each fueled by different emotions, faced the undeniable truth. Their shock turned into a volatile mix of accusation and blame. None of them had planned for such an encounter, yet their pride refused to let them walk away. The villa, once a quiet escape, became a pressure cooker of anger, frustration, and bruised egos. Ayesha tried to distance herself, but the men's rage had already taken over the room. Rashid, overwhelmed by betrayal, struggled to understand how he had been misled so completely. Khalid's anger grew darker with every second he spent inside the villa, interpreting the entire situation as a deliberate insult. Ibrahim, usually calm, felt his trust shattered and his reputation threatened. Their confrontation escalated rapidly as each man tried to assert control. The tension between them grew dangerous, and Ayesha became the focus of their arguments. What started as a heated exchange soon spiraled beyond anyone's intentions. In the chaotic moments that followed, a sudden struggle broke out. Movements became frantic and uncontrolled. In the confusion, Ayesha tried to escape toward the hallway, but the turmoil pulled her back into the center of the conflict. A shove, a rapid step backward, and a forceful push collided at once. She lost her balance, hitting the sharp edge of a glass table. The impact was severe and immediate. Silence fell for a brief moment as they saw her collapse onto the marble floor, unmoving. The men stared in shock, realizing the situation had taken a fatal turn. No one had wanted this outcome, yet their collective rage had led to a moment that could not be undone. Panic replaced anger as they understood the magnitude of what had happened. Their first instinct was to protect themselves, not each other. In a rush of fear, they debated what to do, each one trying to control the narrative in a room filled with evidence of their presence. Cameras, fingerprints, and digital trails had already tied them to the villa. What they didn't know was that the chain of events triggered that night would unravel everything they had spent years building. Ayesha's life had ended in a moment of chaos, and their attempt to hide the truth would only deepen the tragedy that awaited them next. The aftermath of Ayesha's death sent shockwaves through Dubai's elite circles. Within hours, investigators began piecing together the events that led to the tragic night at the villa. Security footage, phone records, and eyewitness accounts revealed the presence of 3 high-profile men, Rashid, Khalid, and Ibrahim, each with separate motives and secret connections to the victim. The city buzzed with rumors, and the story quickly escalated into a scandal that no one could ignore. Social media exploded as fragments of the truth leaked online, showing glimpses of the luxurious lifestyle Ayesha had led and the powerful figures involved. The investigation uncovered the full extent of her secret life. Ayesha had balanced 3 wealthy benefactors while maintaining the appearance of a model student. Her financial records, travel logs, and messages revealed a complex web of deception. Each sheikh had only known part of the truth, believing himself to be her sole supporter. Now, their carefully curated reputations were under scrutiny, and the media painted them as symbols of excess, obsession, and danger. The courtroom became a battleground for influence and power. Lawyers, journalists, and the public watched closely as the trial revealed shocking details of betrayal, manipulation, and greed. The 3 sheikhs faced charges ranging from involuntary manslaughter to complicity, while the life of a young student, who had dared to chase comfort and security, became a cautionary tale. Ayesha's story became more than a crime, it became a warning. It illustrated how hidden relationships, unmonitored desires, and the pursuit of wealth could spiral into unimaginable tragedy. Families, students, and even the powerful were forced to reflect on the price of secrets. In the end, her life and death reshaped Dubai's understanding of wealth, influence, and human vulnerability. The scandal left an indelible mark, proving that behind luxury and charm, darkness can often hide, and the consequences.